Okay, 2 minutes after 3. That's island time. We can start, Mary.
Go for it.
And welcome to Writers Read. And I'm going to say welcome to writers and readers and all our friends. And then I'm going to say, go Mariners. Say it with me and then we'll ignore it.
Go Mariners.
Okay, little did we know we booked this right at Game 5. Today we have 3 readers, which is going to be delightful. We have Mary Mueller, we have Jim Spraker, and we have Joseph Galagan. Some of you already know Joseph. And now we're going to do our poem, which we love to say, because, Linda, I have to say it. She doesn't want me to always say, this was a Paul Niebank poem. So having known, those of us that knew Dear Paul love saying this poem. Here we go. I say a line, you say a line. Right, right, right.
Right, right, right.
Until you get it right.
Until you get it right.
Then read aloud.
And read aloud.
You'll draw a crowd.
You'll draw a crowd.
And bring us great delight.
And bring us great delight.
Nicely done, nicely done. Okay, Mary, we're ready here. And I am just treasuring the cover, much less the contents, the cover of Mary's book. It's a picture of Mary at what age, Mary?
8 years old.
Okay, she pointed out just 5 minutes ago, she's 8 years old on the front of the book and
81
on the back of the book. Could you imagine a better cover? Oh, Mary, we're looking forward to your reading from this book.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about what you're going to read today.
Oh, okay. Well, it's sequential thanks to Joseph, who you're going to meet pretty soon. So it starts at the beginning when I was a 5-pound bag of sugar, so said my mother when I was born, and it takes you right up into today. So it's like a rainbow. It starts over here and it goes over here. Is that what you wanted to know?
Now, before we start, Mary,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you how writing fits into your daily routine, or do you just write when you want to, or do you write when you have to?
All of the above. In September, I had less on my plate, and I got up every morning and I wrote every day. In October, I've had medical things and other things on my plate, so I did not write every day. In fact, I thought, this is what it's like to not know what to write, but I don't think I really had much time to write.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. And now let's hear what you're going to read.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just read the last page, the last paragraph of my acknowledgments. The reason I wrote this book, my children and grandchildren, to whom I offer these stories, with the hope that they may usher in a full picture of understanding of who I am. So that was the reason I wrote the book, and I'm afraid a lot of you have gotten to know me better also. And I don't know if that's good or not. So, my first thing I'm going to read, and I don't write a lot. I write succinctly, and I stop. So this is succinct, and this is chapter 23. There are 90, how many are there, Joe? 97 essays in this book. And they're small. They're all small. So you could read it, turn the light out, go to sleep, and then the next night you could read another one. So that's fun. Okay, so this is chapter 23, and it's entitled, Mark, You Were the Cutest Little Boy. And I thought this would give you an introduction to part of my life. This is a story about you. I'm talking to Mark, whose name was changed to Roger by your second mother. When you were born to me, Mary, and your birth father, we named you Mark, M-A-R-C. One spring day, I put you in my Ford station wagon, piled in the 2 big blue suitcases with my Tupperware, and fled from our living circumstances. Your birth father had become enraged when the phone rang, and I wanted to answer it. He was pontificating and did not want to be interrupted. He yelled, he slapped me, he stormed out of the kitchen and drove off in his old Cadillac limousine. Something told me to do the same, so we left for good. I lined up your 3 stepbrothers and said goodbye and explained why we would not take them. We drove and ended up at Aunt Mabel's. She had given a Tupperware party for me to get started in the business. I hid the car a couple of blocks away so your father could not find us. The next day, my father appeared to take us home with him. He realized that something had changed as calls had come in asking for us, and he figured out where we were. I don't know how. I don't want to be a burden to your grandparents, so at the time I resisted, but I was 9 months pregnant, and my parents and my brother made us welcome, and were wonderful with you. I immediately signed up for welfare, and I could pay my dad rent. It was a tough situation as I had to sign papers that allowed the state to go after your dad because he was responsible for his son. A week after we arrived at your grandparents', your sister was born. Living in this new address, you finally were getting the love and attention you deserved. People gave you toys. Your parental grandparents sent you cards and gifts, along with those for the baby, and a beautiful wool 3/4 length white sweater for me. We had escaped. We had bruises, though, but because we had both been recipients of your father's wrath. I am truly grateful that our escape gave Anna, your newborn baby sister, a better chance and allowed a new life for you. So that's that. That's that, and that's the beginning. I have a chapter on singing that you need to hear because the name of my book is With a Song in My Heart. And music has been my salve and my salvation and my greatest joy.
Did you hear that title? Say it with me. With a song in my heart. With a song in my heart. Just perfect.
Okay, here we go. 104. This is entitled Singing, Chapter 36, Joe. You couldn't believe how many chapters there are. Okay. A form of music could be heard in our family of 3 as we drove along in the car. We sang the Indiana fight song and other joy-filled songs. The 2 churches my parents attended, one with a large organ and a choir, and the other with a song leader up front waving his arm. My dad, on occasion, would be the song leader. This later music made me want to add harmony, so I learned to sing alto. It made the hymns more interesting to me. My Uncle Joe sang bass, and we would sing the breakout parts, which added so much depth. I still remember my Uncle Joe's voice. It was so wonderful. In high school, I took voice lessons from a woman who met her husband in the Metropolitan Opera in New York. We had a deal. I would iron her 3 daughters' dresses, and she would give me voice lessons. I sang in the concert choir and was chosen to represent Aurora High School at All State Choir. So, when I attended Lubbock Christian College, I sang in their choir that traveled to other states to raise money for the college. Music seemed to be always a part of my life. I worked for the phone company, that's Ma Bell, we called her, and sang in her choir. So that's been on and on. Our Martin family would gather together for a special occasion, and each person was handed a hymnal to pick out a song that they want us to sing. We were just a family of singers, and most of my father's side went to the church without musical instruments. My cousins on both sides of the family were musical. One played the organ in church, another sang in a choir at Tanglewood and other unique groups. She's wonderful. My brother and his wife loved to sing. She was a children's choir director at one time. The church I attended in Ballard had an amazing tenor soloist who directed our choir, played the piano and organ. He also did the music for a Catholic church and brought our two choirs together to perform alongside with instrumentalists. And that was great fun. My first date with my husband-to-be, I guess, was to hear Al Gress sing, who was our music director at the time. When Al retired, we hired a tall black woman named Carlene Brown, who became our music director. She was the most spiritual director of any I have had. She is in charge of a music department right now at a local university. And when she led it, we had so much variety for folks to sing, and we loved the music and the director. She meant so much to Hans and I. Hans is my late husband. But I did not ask the woman who was directing our choir at the time to play when my husband died. But I invited Carlene to Hans's memorial, where she played the organ and the piano right here in this room. I must add that both services for our dad and later for our mother, we had family sing and play the violin. Singing was as natural as having dessert at a meal. I am blessed to be able to read music and sing on key. It brings me so much joy and adds to other lives also. Okay, I have one more, and then we'll see what our time is.
Oh, we're good.
Are we good? Okay, the next one is, page 140, for those that need a hymnal. Or you can sing with whatever words you know. And the title of this one is really fun. This is Two Tales from London. Tales, stories. Yes. After a choir tour through Norway, and both my late husband and I he sang in the Norwegian male chorus, I sang in the Norwegian ladies chorus. So I married a singer also. Anyway, after a chorus tour through Norway in 2007, Hans and I spent time in London. We had flown to Norway and did not want to fly home. So a transatlantic crossing from London and Amtrak across the United States was our choice. While in London, we bought tickets to the play Chicago and went to the district to find the theater. It was a July day, sunny and quite warm. We found groups of people outside with beer in their hands and enjoying themselves. We found the theater and decided the shade in the pub was for us. We sat at the bar, and I was on the end. Most everyone was outside. We learned that this was the first day of non-smoking in restaurants and pubs. And that's where they belonged. We ordered our drinks and found an atmosphere jubilant. A young man ordered a pint and set it beside me and went and came and went and came and went. I turned to him and started a conversation. He wanted to know if we were Americans. Yes, we are. Did your husband serve in the military in World War II? I looked at him. Yes, he did. Then I was totally blown away with the next part of our conversation. He began to express his belief that England needed the United States to keep it from becoming German. We would all speak German today if the USA had not aided us. I was so touched with this generous spirit and asked him his age. He responded he was 38, and out of my mouth flew, "You could be my son." These are such bright conversations, you know. He wanted to know our plans, and I told him we were waiting for the play to begin. He told us he worked there and asked if he could see our tickets. He said he would like to have us be his guests and sit in box seats and enjoy the play. So I followed him to the ticket office, and it was arranged. It was quite grand to sit in the blue velvet box seats and enjoy the play. Hans and I have enjoyed Elder Hostel. We had noticed that there was to be a mystery writer and a workshop on the return crossing. However, when we tried to register me in the class, we were told no. Apparently, there were others who had started sooner than we, and there was not a vacancy. So the first day on the boat, it's really a ship, is that right? You Navy guys? It wasn't a boat, it was a ship, I think. Anyway, I wrote that wrong. On the first day, I tried to find the room where the classes were held. And as I was interested in attending, but no one knew where it was taking place. Literally, they didn't know. People that worked on the ship. I couldn't believe it. So I did many other activities. However, one morning at breakfast, we were seated at a table for 8 with a lone, attractive woman seated with us. When she spoke, I noticed her accent, and I asked her if she was Anne Cleves, the mystery writer. She responded that she was and said extraordinary happenings. Let's see. Sorry. The mystery writer. She responded that she was. Such extraordinary happenings were icing on the cake. After hearing my story of being rejected from attending the workshop, Anne invited me to join her class that morning and for the rest of the trip. She was so generous and open. She showed us a film of the Shetland Islands where her thriller took place, and it gave us such a good background to understand that part of the world. I bought her book in the bookstore, and she signed it for me. So my 2 tales from London show the wonderful things that serendipity can bring into our lives. It is like finding a blue rock, polishing it, and seeing an Ellensburg blue gem.
Mary, what a gift this is. Oh, let's hear it for Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Mary, let's get the books organized.
Okay.
I'm keeping one for the back shelf in our library.
Okay.
Number 1, but there are 2 more over there. And she says you're welcome to borrow them. And then what would be the system?
They can have them.
They can have them and keep them moving, maybe. People, let people know you have a copy when you're done with it and move it on. Joseph.
The book is also listed on Amazon, Amazon.com.
Thank you. Important information.
This is cheaper.
Okay, we're going to take questions right now. If anybody has a question for Mary, Linda has a mic, and so does Risa. Any questions at this point or not? Boy, how many chapters again?
Sure.
You know, when I read this book, it gave me permission, kind of, or encouraged me to not have to get a complete story. You can stop telling it whenever you want to and move on and number it a new number. So 97, there's only one story labeled 97. Okay, Mary, thank you so much for coming and reading. Let's hear another.
Thank you.
But we've been connected forever.
Well, I served the church where you grew up. Your
yes.
father was pastor. Yeah.
Okay, now, Jim, we're going to start with how writing fits into your daily routine. Does it, or do you just write when you have to, or do you love to write and write for joy?
I've never written very much because in college I was a very poor writer.
Oh, my.
And it was a struggle to write those term papers.
Okay.
And writing memoirs is much more exciting for me.
Oh, good.
And so I try to write one chapter every week.
Oh, that's a good goal.
Yeah.
That's doable, isn't it?
That's doable. And I only have 22 chapters. So,
Okay. Jim,
so far.
describe a little of what you're reading today.
Reading two sections. One is kind of a journey of my career. And then the second section will define itself. Okay? My career reflects a journey through 3 different forms of ministry with twists and turns. I was a pastor in small churches, then an associate in a large church, and finally a chaplain in a hospital. When I first contemplated ministry, my vision was parish-focused. I was very vague about the details. My first experience was serving as a single minister in small churches. 4 years as a student pastor in New Jersey, and then we moved to the Pacific Northwest, and I was a pastor in small churches for 6 years. I found that being a pastor in a small church is not very fulfilling. It didn't use my best skills, and it seemed to me as if we were always dealing with survival issues. Not enough money, not enough members, and limited lay leadership. Also, I felt the need to be up on Sunday with an inspiring sermon and a smile on my face. The events of the week, a death or a church family in crisis, may have taken the bulk of my time and energy. There was always Sunday morning. I was an adequate preacher. Through the years, I discovered a pastor needed to be multi-skilled. A pastor needed to be able to be a good public speaker. In addition, a pastor needed to be an administrator, working effectively with committees. And there was also the need to develop programs to help people in their faith journey. And finally, a pastor needed counseling skills to help people deal with crises in their lives. My first church after seminary was in Vancouver, Washington. I had a successful couple of years. I spent a lot of time with 2 groups of people in study workshops. The workshop members were high maintenance and needed lots of support. We took in 51 new members that year, but the success was not sustainable. The next year, we had 6 divorces in those groups. It took a huge amount of time dealing with the families involved. In addition, the choir director left, the strongest lay leader was transferred, and the adult helping me with the youth group quit. His wife wanted to return to a Pentecostal church. The year 1969 was a year of crisis with personal frustration and disappointment. In addition, our family needs were growing. I needed to nurture the boys with Barbara. I began to question my call. One research study identified 75% of pastors as feeling highly stressed. I was surely one of them. In another section, I've told about my shift from the Methodist Church to the United Church of Christ. It was also a move to a second form of ministry, being an associate on the church staff of Fauntleroy UCC. The Fauntleroy experience was great. I had a time and worked with a supportive group of youth leaders to develop a successful youth ministry. There were people interested in creating new projects. We started an adult education program that met during the week and involved nearly 200 people in 1 year. We did something radical. We charged a modest fee so that I could hire outside people to lead some of the classes. I preached only once a month. This position utilized my skills. I could develop programs that added to the quality of the life of the congregation, not just survival. I recruited an outside person to run our stewardship program, which increased our giving by 30%. Working with the Golden Club was fun. We expanded the program for seniors, which included taking day trips and had an exercise group in addition to our monthly meeting. I have often wondered about this experience. I went from one of my worst years in ministry to one of my best. Did I change that much? Or was it finding people who were willing to explore new options? Was it the size of the congregation that had more leadership? Probably all of the above. I felt really affirmed at Fauntleroy and my sense of call to ministry. I wanted to stay at the Fauntleroy Church, but the staff relationships were toxic. I could not trust the senior minister. His lack of integrity was striking. There was a movement in the congregation opposing him, and those people were gathering around me. I knew that if it came to a conflict between the senior minister and an associate, the associate always loses. 2 years after I left, the congregation fired the senior minister. There are only 2 or 3 associate positions in the Pacific Northwest Conference of the United Church of Christ. I passed on one of these 2 years prior because it didn't feel like the right time. Also, we loved being in the Seattle area. I had considered a new church start, but it didn't seem like a good fit for my skills. Also, I got outvoted by the family. Barbara and the boys did not want to relocate. So when I left Fauntleroy Church, I took a transitional job with a mortgage banking company as their training manager. It was in the early 80s, and the rapid rise in interest rates created a terrible time for this company. They lost money every month of the 2 years I worked there. Ironically, I had my performance appraisal done and scored at the top of the scale. 2 weeks later, I was laid off. I took another job in marketing at Horizon House, a UCC retirement community. They were building a new building, the East Tower and the West Addition, and I was hired. They had no marketing plan. I was hired as a part of a team to develop a plan and to begin to sign up people for new apartments. It was interesting work, but not very satisfying. I kept searching for a job in ministry, and it came about in a strange way, and it was my third form of ministry, chaplaincy. My nearly 30 years in the hospital provided the opportunity to use a wide variety of my skills. The hospital was a place where I could use my problem-solving skills with complex issues, such as the death of a Muslim patient, and see the broader issues of our not knowing about different cultures. Being in the hospital is a crisis for patients and their families. I was able to relate quickly and effectively with people in crisis, particularly around death and dying issues. In the late 80s, our hospital did not have an ethics committee, and we needed one. In lunch conversations with doctors, I began exploring with them how to develop an ethics committee and the processes. We needed more ethics training for the medical and nursing staff and for me. The hospital provided me with time and money to get a certificate in medical ethics from the University of Washington Medical School. We were able to create an ethics committee and the processes that had a profound impact by identifying ethical issues early and resolving them before they became crises. Working closely with nurses and doctors was the foundation of my ministry in the hospital. 15 years after retirement, a nurse recently asked me to lead a memorial service for her husband. My years in the hospital were the most fulfilling of my career. So I'll do the second one. All right. All right. It was late in the afternoon of January 31, 2000. I was playing pickleball at the health club in Burien. As I played, I became aware of a movement. People were stopping their exercising and talking with each other. There was tension in the air. My partner and I stopped playing and asked someone what was going on. They told us that an Alaska Airlines plane had gone down. Nobody had specifics. The club was a place where pilots and flight attendants worked out, and the angst was intense. Later, we learned that 88 people had died in the crash of Alaska Airlines Flight 261. It crashed off of the coast of California on a flight from Puerto Vallarta in Mexico to Seattle. Later that evening, I was watching the news about the crash and the tragedy that was thrust on families. The airport had a chaplain, and there was a video of him talking with families. I wondered how he felt and what it would be like to be in that position. Then my phone rang, and I was in that position. It was Dr. S. telling me that David, one of the doctors in his group practice and on the hospital staff, had died in the crash. Not only him, but also his wife and 4 children. I felt like I had been hit with a gut punch. Not only had I worked with David, he had recently become my primary care physician. We were developing a new relationship. Dr. S. wanted me to meet with his office staff at 7 a.m. the next morning. Thus began a 3-week journey into a place I'd never been before or since. I had to try to offer support and comfort to the office staff, hospital staff and doctors, David's family, and his ex-wife. We were all deeply affected by this tragedy. The complexity of the situation was enormous. My personal feeling of despair at the loss of life was compounded by the loss of young children. Trying to be a source of comfort was a test of my faith and touched the very core of my being. My first task was to sort out the players and how to relate with them. Dr. S. wanted me to go with him to meet David's family at David's home on Queen Anne. It was a weird experience to be in the home of a family who had all died. The toys, photos, and books all around reminded us of the tragedy of this loss. The hospital staff was upset and grieving. I met with several individual staff members who were crushed by the loss. We had lots of tears together. David had an ex-wife with whom he had 2 children. He also had a child with his second wife, plus he'd adopted her son. She was pregnant with another child. The deep sense of loss was present among all of us. The interplay between David's family and the ex-wife was strained. David had taken these children on a weekend trip to Mexico. They were traveling with family friends who also had 2 children. The mother was a flight attendant who had free miles for travel. Among the factors were several financial issues, the mortgage on the house and other debts, plus the talk of impending lawsuits against Alaska. And Alaska Airlines also had their care team coming around saying, "What can we do to help?" It was tense. At some point in the first week, the idea began to surface that we could have a memorial service at the hospital. David had no strong religious background, but his family had been Roman Catholic. Added to the mix was a strong staff person who wanted to bring in her Orthodox Episcopal priest. I felt the tension of trying to respond to all the competing needs and the variety of religious traditions. I took charge in putting together a memorial service. Another staff person took charge of the logistics. We had a meeting room that would hold about 200 people. We were the first memorial service of any of the victims of the crash. The service generated lots of interest from the press. My design of the memorial service was built around the comforting words of Psalm 23. As the hospital chaplain, I led the service with a short eulogy that highlighted David's medical skills, his gentle quality with patients, and his love for his family. A Roman Catholic priest, an Episcopal priest, and 4 staff members, plus the hospital administrator who was a Mormon bishop, also spoke. In reflection on this tragedy, I was aware that in 45 years of being a minister and a chaplain, I had experienced individual loss, family tragedy, and the angst of the hospital community, but never all at the same time. I tried to respond with comforting words and actions while affirming a deep sense of loss that each of us experienced. At times, I needed to be alone and deal with my own grief. As a comforter to others, I was aware of how my faith sustained me. It was one of the most profound experiences of my life, both professionally and personally. On the 25th anniversary of the crash, I visited the pocket park that had been created in the memory of the children on the slope of Queen Anne. The names of the children were inscribed on tiles in a small retaining wall. Appropriately, it was raining on the outside and in my heart.
Jim, thanks very, very much. I'm sure that writing this in a way was another step in healing.
It was therapeutic, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for reading. I'm going to walk over now to the table, Jim, because I'm going to let people know that your copy of both of your stories will be in the binders. And I just want to remind people that we are now into volume 3. Joseph, our history of Writers Read, I bet you're interested in. It started in 2017, and we have books and writing single copies. So you're welcome whenever you have nothing else to do, Joseph. You can go on the bottom shelf under the window and peruse these. They're amazing stories in here. And Jim Dearheart, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You're good. Thank you so much. I'm going to say we won't do questions and answers today, if that's okay with everybody, unless somebody, okay?
Well,
Be in touch.
I could answer whatever people want.
Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of filled up to the brim with
Okay.
with what you read, sweetheart. And so I think we'll just kind of need to go on. But thank you very much. And some of you are going to start working with Joseph, I can tell. Joseph is wearing how many hats today? He is, as you know, a gift to Horizon House in terms of helping people bring together what they've written. And then he also has published a book of his own, and this will be on the back shelf in our wonderful collection. And the title, I just received this yesterday, I need to confess. So I certainly haven't absorbed all of it, but I did read the chapter on the University of Washington campus. But it's called Rosary Rounds, A Life Revisited. So that's the focus of the book. And Joseph, I think we'll start with a bit of the book, and then we'd love to hear from you about what you're doing here and in the Horizon House and your wonderful take on writing as a good activity. Thank you, Joseph. Okay.
Here is the first chapter of Rosary Rounds. It's called The Yellow Lunchbox. And the Rosary Rounds is my memoir. I wrote it when I was 60 years old. After a 30-year career in counseling, I retired and I said, what am I going to do next? And the idea of writing a memoir came to me. I had been a counselor in a high school for 30 years, so I wrote a lot of letters of recommendation. For 30 years, I was writing about students. So when the time came when I was home, I thought, I think I'll write my own story. The Yellow Lunchbox. It is my earliest memory. A yellow lunchbox, open and sitting on the kitchen table, packed with items for the first day of school. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich on white bread, an apple, a Hostess Twinkie, a personal favorite, and a white napkin. It was my mother's doing. In one of her moments of Saturday shopping, she must have spotted the lunchbox sitting on the shelf at the Five and Dime on Proctor Street, or at the Rhodes department store, or maybe the Big Value grocery up and around the corner from our house on North 22nd Street. Something about the lunchbox spoke to her. The spring-like colors and swirls and intricate patterns of what looked like decorations of flowers and leaves. It may have been a woman's intuition, a spark of remembrance from her own childhood in Minnesota, something to do with morning light and graceful gardens. So she reached up and took it into her hands, thinking, wouldn't this be a nice lunchbox for young Joey, who was soon to begin kindergarten? Wouldn't he look the stylish boy, striped t-shirt and corduroy pants, wavy hair, and a happy-go-lucky smile, tripping along to school with a yellow lunchbox in hand, ready and willing to begin a new experience in life. But standing there that first school morning and gazing upon the lunchbox, I felt trepidation and fear. This was not the lunchbox for me. These were not the right colors or designs. Having 3 older brothers, I knew what a real lunchbox should look like. Where were the depictions of Superman, or baseball players, or dump trucks, or red rocket ships? Sure, the lunchbox was square with a snap-shut lid, and it was built of the standard tin material that made a thin echoing sound when dinged or knocked. And inside was a small thermos for milk or juice, which came with a locking mechanism to hold it in place. It was all as expected, just the kind of lunchbox other girls and boys would have at school. Yet at that moment, my world felt upside down. I was frozen in place, unable to move, overwhelmed by feelings of panic, incapable of imagining ever setting foot on a playground or classroom with that lunchbox in hand. Close by stood my mother, cheerful and patient, helping my other siblings prepare for the school day. It was a hive of activity with half-dressed children. Mom, I can't find my shoes. Bowls of cereal, bathroom stops, and constant checks of the kitchen clock. I was aware of my surroundings. I knew I was one amongst others, number 4 of 6 children, a younger child in a household of numerous family members, all with their different needs and desires and personalities. I wanted to cry out, to demand attention, to tell all of the injustice of the yellow lunchbox. Yet it was not to be. Pressing time and kinetic energy rushed us all out the door and into the green 2-tone DeSoto parked in front of the house. We piled in, restless, nervous bodies with pencils, paper, and lunches in hand, shredders and windbreakers close by, and headed out, destination school. And there on my lap, clutched with knuckle-white small fingers, sat the yellow lunchbox. Lowell School was a short distance from my house, just a mile or so east along the curvy and hilly roadways of Tacoma. From 22nd Street, we turned right onto Alder Street, right again on 24th, and then proceeded down past Rosemont Avenue and the Yakima Street Bridge. Along the way, I sighted familiar places. The grassy park strip on Cedar Street where we often played daring games of sport, Tony's gas station, the steep and forbidding Carr Hill, and finally the backside of Lowell School with its big glass windows and sloping bank. As we pulled into a side street and parked, I felt lost and defeated. There was no way to avoid what was to come. I would have to face my worst fears. Soon I would be standing in front of my peers, trembling in place, Mom by my side with the yellow lunchbox and an unwelcome companion. Up the sloping side entrance we went, hand in hand, through the doors, down the long hallway until we came to the kindergarten classroom of Mrs. Larson. There were other mothers and children, everyone anxious yet excited, all awaiting the first bell. I kept the lunchbox hidden, draping my windbreaker over it as best I could while eyeing my mother as she conversed with the other parents. Then into a cloakroom we all went, finding our names conveniently located next to coat hooks. Nearby were also low-level cubbies for books, shoes, blankets, supplies, and lunches. These I eyed with amazement. I quickly placed the lunchbox, along with my other personal items, into one of these cubbies, sight unseen, owner unknown, and wandered out into the classroom. I experienced then a tremendous feeling of relief. No longer holding the lunchbox had made it an object separate from me. It had no bearing on my identity, no pull on my fragile existence. If need be, it could now be denied and disowned. It was a moment of exhilaration and one that was to last for the remainder of the school day. At lunch, I slipped my food out of the lunchbox, leaving it and the thermos secretly tucked in the cubby, and walked to the lunchroom smiling and nibbling away at the golden, delicious Twinkie. Later, as school was let out with a flash of running and screaming, kids going every which way, I met my older brothers at a corner spot on 21st Street. They were coming down the hill from the neighboring St. Patrick's Catholic School, wearing their green sweaters, white shirts, and salt and pepper cords. Together, we would begin the walk home, sometimes on the main roads, sometimes through alleys and back streets, sometimes stopping along the way for penny candy at nearby Frederick's drugstore. The first day of school found us heading back on Yakima Street. I was a little behind, walking slower, dragging my feet, not included in the play and talk of older brothers experiencing the rituals of higher grade levels. By the time we arrived at the Yakima Bridge, I was a full half block in the rear. Instead of racing ahead to catch up, I stopped and climbed up onto the concrete bridge railing and looked far down at the distant rocks and trees of the gulch. I sensed an opportunity and quickly dropped my yellow lunchbox over the bridge, watching it forever free fall to its untimely demise. It was then that I ran with full speed, whooping and jumping in the air until I reached my unsuspecting brothers. Upon stopping and pondering my impromptu decision, I also knew what I had done was wrong, that there would be a price to pay, and that my mother would be at home waiting for me with open arms and unhappy questions. When the moment arrived, I looked up into her disapproving face and lied. I told her I had left the yellow lunchbox out on the playground during lunch recess. Somehow it had disappeared. It was nowhere to be found, not returned to the classroom, not lost and found, not anywhere to be seen. I chatted that maybe someone had walked off with it, taken it home to keep it in their room, to use for button collections or doll clothes. She hesitated. Her face suddenly flushed, a dim light of understanding appearing in her eyes. She turned away to go on to the next chore, the next child, the next in an endless series of parenting tasks. I spent the remainder of the school year carrying my lunches in brown paper bags. No new lunchbox appeared. No further questions or discussions took place. I was left alone with my own mixture of contrary emotions, relief and guilt, pride and anguish, happiness and regret. Nothing hurt more than the lie I had spoken to my mother. Yeah. She was my greatest fan, and I had not been truthful. Read the last paragraph.
I spent the remainder.
Let's read the last paragraph.
That's what the last paragraph
Yeah.
starts with, dear heart.
Yeah.
I spent the remember. You the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
sentence, you mean?
No, just read the last paragraph. This whole
I
thing.
spent the remainder of the school year carrying my lunches in a brown paper bag. No new lunchbox appeared. No further questions or discussions took place. I was left alone with my own mixture of contrary emotions, relief and guilt, pride and anguish, happiness and regret. Nothing hurt more than the lie I had spoken to my mother. She was my greatest fan, and I had not been truthful. I was disappointed in myself, in my notable weaknesses and delicate identity. Young though I was, I understood there was much growing up yet to come. Much more in the way of becoming a better person and a more worthy son. Oh
So
my, Joseph.
It's funny because I didn't cry when I wrote it. But when you read,
Yeah,
it brings back that moment in time and those emotions that were with you, that stay with you
Yeah.
your whole life. You know, I'm a volunteer here at Horizon House. I come every Thursday, and at 11 o'clock we have a memoir writing group up on the third floor in the lunch area. Not only memoir writing, but people read poetry and people read essays, and someone's working on a cookbook. So it's like a writing group. And what has happened over the last 2 or 3 years since I've been doing this is a number of people, like Mary, and there's other people here in the audience, Ellen and Joan, who have risen to the occasion and have either brought forth what they have already written that was hitting some place on the computer or in a folder, or have written new things, like Jim. Yeah. One of the things that happened with me is I was a counselor for 30 years, and I often said to people I worked with, you should keep a journal. Yeah. You should re-examine and revisit. My book is called A Life Revisited, and revisit your life through writing. And you will discover things that maybe that you have forgotten, or you may even discover things that you never even knew that you knew. And memoir writing is a fantastic way of revisiting your life and putting into words some of your most memorable experiences. The yellow lunchbox is my earliest memory. And I've often told people working on memoirs, What is your earliest memory? And if you don't know where to start, write that first. So my first chapter is my earliest memory. And then I wrote 26 more chapters. Okay, yeah. A memoir is not everything that ever happened to you or every person that you ever knew or every experience that you've ever had. It's the ones that you remember the most vividly. Maybe the ones that had the most impression on you, that stayed with you the longest in your memory because they were the most important things that happened, even if they were small things or, something that just happened on a given day. But your memory is a clue, okay, to the things that you carry with you that could let you write a memoir. So writing a memoir is a gift to yourself. It's very therapeutic, very helpful, and a gift to others. In my situation, we know a lot about my father's family and absolutely nothing about our mother's family. Nothing. No photographs, no written memories. And it's such a shame. She was such a wonderful person. And yet we have no information about her, other than what our experience was having her as a parent.
Nancy?
About your mother.
Nancy, let me give you this.
Yeah.
It's told me, at least, a tremendous amount about your mother, because I was not listening to as you. I was listening as her, because I have sons. And when she said nothing about it, I said, she knows everything about this.
It was my first lie. My first lie to my mom, of all people. And she knew. The look and the walking away has stayed with me. That's why that emotion came up. I was hurt by it. I had disappointed my greatest fan.
And she was very smart.
Yeah. She didn't get mad. She didn't bring it up again. But no new lunchbox.
Okay, we're going to have any more questions for Joseph. What an afternoon. Here's Linda coming with it. We don't have to worry about the time. At least we don't in this room. There's no next event.
I just want to say, you've heard Joseph today, and in his sessions on Thursdays, he is an inspiration. He doesn't let you off the hook. He reminds you that if you're going to do this, you have to be serious and spend some time almost every day, at least writing a little bit. And because of that, I had something that was taking 15 years to write, and I got into Joseph's class, and about 8 or 9 months, I had a book published. So if you're just hanging there and not trying to decide, should I do this, attend Joseph's seminars on Thursdays.
Yeah, and I just want to tell you that I'm a volunteer, and my wife and I, we have a nonprofit publishing company where we help people publish books for free. It's a community service. It's something that we can do. I have written 7 books. My wife has written books. We know how to self-publish. And for people who are interested, we're willing to help you. But you have to do the writing. Yeah, you have to put in, like Joan said, the time and the dedication. It takes a lot of discipline to do writing. And the discipline to come up with something.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? What a rich hour. Thank you to all who were involved here. Oh, excuse me.
Just a quick question, Nancy. Do you do that, the publishing, self-publishing help just for us, or do you also do that, such as my daughter, for example? Would you do that for her?
No, I would do it for residents of Horizon House. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because what has happened is we have published 4 books for residents here. We have another one that's currently in the making. And I think there's a few more coming. Like, for example, a week ago, Thursday, there was 11 of us at the table. That's me, plus 10 people who were actually either had written or were writing or were definitely planning to. And so I see more things happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
In the preparation of the books, are you helping with editing and with layout?
Yes, we're helping
Lovely.
with editing, layout, formatting. You get to choose your cover design. You get to choose the photographs that you want to put in. We take what you have and we build books out of it, like Mary's book. Yeah. But you will have to create a manuscript. Yeah, you will have to do the writing, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
I will help you. Okay. I will help you in the writing. I mean, in the how to encourage you and
Keep moving.
lead you.
Keep moving.
Yeah. And I would, like I said before, if you don't know where to start with your earliest memory. That's chapter 1.
Oh, I think we're all going to go home and write tonight, Joseph. You've just gotten us all going now. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Joseph, so much for sharing your time with us and for your work here at Horizon House. Let's
And thank
appreciate that.
and thank you to Mary and thank you to Jim.
Yes. Jim and Mary and Joseph, thank you all.